puts up a three. Yes! And
Bearcat Blitz, taking you into the back half of the week here on the Believe Network. I'm your host, Russ Heltman of Cincinnati Bearcats on SI. He's my co-host, Neil Meyer from Rivals Cincinnati site, the frontofficenews.com, coming off of a 68-62 road victory for Cincinnati over the Colorado Buffaloes. They made Neil and I look very smart with our predictions of the first victory in conference play for Cincinnati. 68-62, they get the job done, and another under the point total hit for bettors that have been following the Bearcats and their dominant defense and lowly offense, which is exactly what we got again. We'll recap that throughout most of the show and then get to an Arizona State preview and get you on your way towards the weekend as Cincinnati welcomes the Sun Devils in for a matinee on Saturday afternoon. Before all that, though, I want to tell you about Bet Online, which continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, to NHL and UFC. Bet Online, it's the number one sports betting source for the new year, from touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks. Bet Online has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online, the game starts here. We'll take a quick break and then get to the Colorado recap and Arizona State preview after these messages on Bearcat Blitz. We are presented by Bet Online, and you can also check us out wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, whatever podcast feed you frequent. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Talking Cats with Russ Heltman to get the full YouTube video and audio show there. Quick break, and then we'll dive into the 68-62 win by Cincinnati over Colorado. Neil Simas Lukosius did the old Undertaker gif on Wednesday night. He rose from the dead after weeks of ice-cold shooting. He leads the Bearcats to a 68-62 win, the leading scorer among four players in double figures. Simas goes 6 of 12 from the field, hits two massive threes in the half-court offense, and I think maybe one of them was in transition as well. In rhythm, though, Simas Lukosius found it again. He hit those threes down the stretch to help Cincinnati go 4 of its last 4 from the field to fend off a 7 of 9 shooting stretch in the final minutes from Colorado. 68-62 win. The Bearcats do a great job of not turning the ball over, just 10 total as a team to Colorado's 15 turnovers. UC had a season-high 11 steals, which, Neil, helped spark a very good to see 16-9 fast break point advantage after scoring just 4 fast break points against Kansas. They hit their free throws as well. They go 16 of 21 at the line. They are able to will a close victory in a free throw shooting fest kind of finish that they have been unable to do in other instances over the past year and a half. This was a complete team win, Neil, despite Jizzle James playing very poorly on offense, shooting the ball. Just 1 of 7 from the field, 5 points, but added 2 rebounds, added 2 assists, did not turn the ball over once in his minutes, and ended up actually being the best plus minus of any Bearcat player on the floor, a plus 17 in this game, despite making just 1 of his 7 field goals. This team is getting impact all over the floor despite not shooting well, Neil, and I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is they're still playing super hard. They're still hungry, but this time around, they did some of the little things, the controllable things on offense a little bit better to get them a 6-point victory.
Yeah, no, most certainly, Russ. This was a all-around team performance on Tuesday night. Obviously one on the road that they desperately searching for. Both teams were in desperate needs of a victory on Tuesday night, and it's safe to say Cincinnati willed their way. And not in an easy environment, too. Obviously, Colorado was a little bit banged up. They didn't have Elijah Malone or R.J. Smith, 2 of the guys that we talked about heading into this contest.
Neil, they missed R.J. Smith, right? I mean, 3 of 13 from deep by Colorado. I think you could say Cincinnati is arguably the best 3-point defense in the country.
Yeah, no, most certainly. And I mean, you look at what Cincinnati was able to kind of do. They held Colorado from just 23% from behind the arc, 3 of 13. But the thing about this game, Russ, was they found their rhythm early. You look down at the stats, you see 4 guys in double figures. The one that sticks out to me the most, Simas Lukosius obviously leads the way with 16 points, 7 rebounds. That's the kind of performance you were expecting from Simas Lukosius in conference play. But what really stood out to me about Simas last night was when the 3-point shot wasn't there, what was he doing, Russ? He was looking to get away into the paint, draw contact. Bigger frame, 6'7", has the size to get downhill and attack. But that's what really kind of altered this game, was when his mindset went from the 3-point shooting to, okay, let me get inside and make an impact there.
Had a really smooth back to the basket sequence where he put a spin move on a guy and caught the baseline defender looking the other way and laid it in easily. Great job. Great note there, Neil, of Simas not sticking it only to the 3 in that game.
He also had the big and one there to start the second half, a 6-point run to open up the second half. You get the and one there from Simas Lukosius, followed back up by the and one from Dylan Mitchell. Back-to-back plays, which both were off turnovers, if I remember right. That sparked the momentum there. But, man, Russ, free throws, we talk about it. We've talked about it multiple times. This team was going to need to find the way to bury some free throws. You look down, 16 for 21. That's the kind of percentage that you expect this team to shoot, 76% from the foul line. Dylan Mitchell, 5 for 7.
At the same time.
5 for 7 for Dylan Mitchell from the line, 11 points. Dak did a really good job at kind of eliminating him on the offensive end.
He was an absolute eraser down low. I'm not going to throw stones at the Bearcats for not hitting their layups in this game. It was very difficult against a player who, Neil, had 8 blocks and 1 foul. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and a guy who's a freshman, 6'10" freshman who only weighs 185 pounds and looked like a Big 12 player, Defensive Player of the Year candidate after last night's performance. So overall, Cincinnati, an all-around team effort. What you like to see is you don't like to see that you lost the rebounding battle, Russ. But, man, there's a lot of other positive notes and chunks to take away. The 3-point shooting for Cincinnati was there in the first half. You go 5 from 11 in the first half, and then you just go 3 for 12 to end the second half. Obviously, you would like those numbers to be a little bit more even and complex there, but shooting 35% from behind the arc, that's a step up from where Cincinnati was. But overall, this was the game they needed to. I thought CJ Frederick came in, gave great minutes again. Josh gave great minutes. Tyler Betsy also saw action in this one after missing the Kansas game. So overall, there's a lot of positive things to take away there. Obviously, for Cincinnati, you're still kind of worrying about the Connor Hickman injury. Obviously, it now kind of sounds like he might be missing a little bit of time there after what Wes Miller said on the radio show. But overall, Cincinnati played their best ball in 2 weeks last night, Russ, in a must-win situation.
Probably since Grambling, right? Since December 22nd, it's probably the best they've played.
Yeah. So it's good to see them get back in the win column. Obviously, it builds a little bit of confidence. I know Wes Miller said on the post-game radio show that the team didn't really celebrate in the locker room. They just kind of was composed and ready for the next one. So that's the Big 12. You can't really celebrate these big victories often, but because the next one's going to be just as challenging. So overall, it's good to hear that kind of aspect, that they not really taking this one, partying all night, celebrating this victory, but their focus is already to Arizona State that comes into town on Saturday.
And a guy who got full focus from that Cincinnati defense, Neil, Julian Hammond III, leading scorer for the Colorado Buffaloes, held to just 1 of 6 shooting, 5 points, did have 6 rebounds, but just 2 assists, 3 turnovers. That's exactly what the doctor ordered against a guy that had a lot of high usage minutes in the Colorado season so far. 68-62. The offense is not where you want it to be, especially in that second half where things just really fell off a cliff. They shot 34.6%, UC did, in the second half, and Colorado was able to stay super efficient with 50% shooting in the second half. So things got a little tighter than you'd like to see over those final kind of few minutes for sure. But Neil, they were only a 2.5, 3.5 point favorite. It is hard to win on the road in this league. Anytime you get a win, you come out with no major injuries, and you cover the spread, I'd say that's a trio of checking all the boxes you want to check in a game like this. Love to see him get over that 70-point threshold soon, if not as soon as Saturday, against a team in Arizona State that is actually a little bit better defensively than Colorado. So once again, it's just, if Cincinnati can get two or all three, which Day Thomas, actually, I would say they got two of the three main lead guards to play well and shoot well offensively in this game. If all three shoot well, then UC obviously goes over the 70-point total with a normal game from Jizzle James. So still a lot to work on offensively. The screening to me is still a question mark. I'm going to definitely, I talked about this in one of our Bearcat group chats. I'm going to ask Wes Miller about it next week if we get a midweek press conference, just kind of a little bit more overarching question, zoom out question of just what looks like a good screen to you. What is the technique that you teach in screening? Because it's weird, Neil. It's like every 3 screens, it'll be a hard set screen from the forward that the guard will attack, and then they get to the rim or they get the defense in rotation and they end up finding, if not a made shot, a quality shot attempt. And then 2 of the other 3 times, it's like this weird double big flash screen where they'll come in, they'll flash the screen a little bit, but then the bigs will move off of the screen defender before he even makes contact with the screen. And then there's nothing for the guard to attack, or the guard just doesn't end up attacking anything when there is a good screen. So the screening is a headache to me right now, and a head scratcher to me. And I think that's the biggest way with how pick and roll heavy this offense is and how guard wing heavy dependent this offense is shooting wise, that they can unlock this offense. That's the biggest way, is the screen game. And I'm sure that's going to be a major point of emphasis offensively over the next couple of days preparing for Arizona State.
Yeah, no, most certainly, especially versus an Arizona State team who has one of the best bigs in the country in Jaden Quainton. And so it's going to be interesting to see how does Cincinnati really get that pick and roll action kind of set and ready for a matchup like that. So overall, I'm right there with you, Russ. I mean, you see it sometimes that the screens are hard set. And I mean, it's not even in the pick and roll action. It's kind of in any action that, especially for a guy like Simas Lukosius, you see him coming off those screens often. That's why teams have been able to defend him so well, is because those screens aren't properly set and giving him enough time or really space to create that shot and separation that he needs to.
Big win. Got the first one on the board, 1-4 in conference play, out of the Big 12 basement, and time to stack some wins here, Neil. Time to stack some wins over the next 8 games before they go to Iowa State. You'd probably like to see him win 6 of these next 8, if not 7 of the next 8, to really get them back in prime position to make the NCAA tournament. After I checked this morning, this is the only real gauge I could go off of because Bracket Matrix did not have the updates yet. So I had to use the obviously flawed team rankings percentage chance for Cincinnati. It only went up 1% off of the win over Colorado. They were fully expected to get that victory, and they're fully expected to go on a nice little run here. Need to get that done, starting with another victory against Arizona State on Saturday. We'll preview that coming up to get through the back half of our latest Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. We're presented by Bet Online. Stick with us, everybody. Arizona State up next, Neil. An Arizona State team that, we'll get to the numbers right here, is, as of this recording, checking in at number 60 on the net rankings and is 63rd on KenPom, while UC is 41st in the net and 39th on KenPom. Arizona State enters this game with the 92nd best offensive rating on KenPom and the 51st best offensive rating there, 63rd overall, as I mentioned. Neil, you talked about Jaden Quainton. This is a very balanced Arizona State team. They have 4 players averaging double figures, led by BJ Freeman and Rashir Jihad. Neil, I think this is a chance for UC to make a serious statement. Arizona State is as middle of the pack gets in terms of offense and defense. When you think about Big 12 teams and Big 12 opponents, it's one of the lower teams in terms of daunting tasks that Cincinnati is going to have to face the rest of the season. And it's an Arizona State team, Neil, that thrives on 3-point shooting and free throws. What does UC do really well? They defend the 3 and they do not foul. I don't see how the matchup advantages work at all in Arizona State's favor here, especially being on the road. Just starting with that, with the defense, Neil, defending that 3-point line and defending those free throws. I mean, look at Arizona State. They are 50th nationally, shooting 37.1% from the 9.1 3-point makes per game. That's 67th nationally. UC is allowing less than 4 or 5 made threes per game. It's a complete opposite the other direction. And then free throw wise, Arizona State shooting 21.4 free throws per game, only hitting 71%. So that leaves them about 103rd nationally with 15.2 free throw makes overall per contest. That matchup, Neil, to me is the biggest issue for Arizona State. And given how consistent Cincinnati has been in not fouling and absolutely taking away the 3-point line, I just don't see how Arizona State's going to be able to overcome it in that side of the floor.
Yeah, no, most certainly, Russ. It's going to be a difficult scenario for Arizona State come Saturday. Everybody knows that Cincinnati defends the 3-point line very well and does not allow teams to really beat you at the free throw line. But in a sense, too, Russ, this is an Arizona State team that, like Cincinnati, you look at the conference schedule, they're 1-4, but you're looking down two of their losses, Russ, have been blowouts by 20 points. BYU blew them out by 20. Kansas blew them out by 20. Their only win was versus a struggling Colorado team, and that was a significant win for them, but they lose to Baylor, they lose to UCF, and the crazy thing is, Russ, 2 of those losses were at home. So they do not play well on the road, to say the least, especially in Big 12 play, because the 2 of those losses that came in Big 12 play where you're blown out by 20 were on the road. So Arizona State is going to really have to find a way to find some momentum to play on the road, especially in what we anticipate, Russ, to be a full sellout Fifth Third Arena come Saturday, especially with it being a double header with the women playing directly after the men's. I expect Fifth Third to be jumping on Saturday. So on top of it, Cincinnati has the momentum right now. They got the fans believing again. I know a lot of people had questions heading into Colorado, but now the hope's back, and there's still a great chance for Cincinnati to finish this conference slate above 500, to say the least.
Right, and can they solve some of the interior issues? Can you make sure a guy like you mentioned, Jaden Quaintance, doesn't absolutely wreck your game plan down low? Same with Rashir Jihad. Can you figure out a way to access that rim as consistently as you did against Colorado? They just didn't make a lot of those rim attacks, and they were able to turn some of those rim attacks into foul shots and make those foul shots at the charity stripe. It's going to be difficult here in terms of getting your normal 3-point shot diet that Cincinnati likes to tap into. They're one of the higher volume 3-point shooting teams in the country, 141st nationally in 3-point attempts per game. Arizona State does not allow many 3-point attempts. They're giving up a total of 7.8 made threes per game and just 31.3% from outside. So can Cincinnati find a way to create open shots, find a way to get that screen game going a little bit more soundly for guys like Simas Lukosius and tap into and try to break through this 3-point defense from Arizona State? If they do that, if they shoot 35 to 40% from deep in this game, then Cincinnati, in my eyes, will win by 15 to 20 points. There's just too many advantages on the other end for that not to be the case in my eye. So, Neil, I'm rolling with Cincinnati going away in this game. I just don't see the kind of waves of depth that Arizona State's going to throw at them being enough to get the job done on the road. Give me Cincinnati hitting 70 points for the first time in conference play, 73-59 victory for the Bearcats. Another dominant defensive showing and another instance where I'm sure the point total will be in question. We'll see where they put it at. Anything above 130 at this point for Bearcats betting point totals, I think is an abject mistake. It's an abject mistake putting these games anywhere above the 130 median. We saw that perfect display Wednesday night. What did the point total break out to? 130, right on the number. What do you got, Neil, for your prediction?
Yeah, I'm the same way you are. I think Cincinnati has the opportunity here to really take advantage, get downhill and attack, and really kind of expose this Arizona State defense. Use your speed, use your guards, attack. That's going to be the big emphasis in this one, Russ. I would love to see them get downhill and attack. I think if they do that in this one, this could easily be a game where Cincinnati scores above that 70-point threshold for the first time in conference play, like you mentioned. I'm going 76-64 in favor of the Bearcats.
All right. And they got a rebounding advantage as well here, Neil. Like you see a major rebounding advantage when you think about the Sun Devils being defensive rebounding. They're at 26.8 defensive rebounds per game, 36.1 total, and Cincinnati sitting at 37.9 total rebounds per game. That's 95th nationally to Arizona State's 178th ranking. So not a huge difference in the overall raw numbers, but that 1 or 2 extra rebounds can make a huge difference in the final box score tally. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Eltman. We'll be back to get you all caught up on the weekend action against Arizona State and kind of put a full bow. We'll do a full tie-up bow on the Bearcats' first portion of the football offseason next week when we return on Bearcat Blitz, presented by Bet Online. Enjoy the game, everybody.
This is the second. 15 seconds left. Shot clock off. 4-point game. DeJulius puts up a 3.